Hello everyone, I am Heather here at the National Museum of the Mighty 8th Air Force, and today I am coming to you live from the cockpit of our B-17, the city of Savannah. And today I'm going to tell you the amazing, true story, of course, of John C. Morgan, Medal of Honor recipient. Now, John Morgan was actually classified as 4F by the draft board. He, in the mid-1940s, he knows war is imminent for the United States of America. He registers with the draft board, and he is classified 4F due to a previous neck injury when he had basically broken his neck, and so the American draft board classified him as 4F. He really wants to fly, so he goes to Canada, and in Canada they really just need flying officers, and so it doesn't bother them, his medical history, and so he goes into flight training with the Royal Canadian Air Force, goes through their pilot training program, and about a year later he's over in England flying bombers with the RAF as part of the RCAF, and he's going to fly missions there until May of 1943, when he is going to be transferred over to the 92nd Bomb Group in the 326th Squadron of the 8th Air Force over in England. He's going to begin flying missions with the 8th. Now, he is going to be a co-pilot in the 92nd. His pilot, so he'd be flying in the seat I'm sitting in right now. His pilot over here is First Lieutenant Robert Campbell. Robert Campbell is a huge, muscular Mississippian, and that description is going to be of him being larger and muscular is going to be important later on in our story. Now, at this point, John Morgan is Flying Officer John Morgan because of his flying with the Royal Canadian Air Force, and he is a 6 foot, about 2-inch tall. He's described in this is all information from Roger Freeman's book, The Mighty 8th, and he is described as a 210-pound, 6'2" Texan by Roger Freeman, and so he's also, a larger gentleman, especially for a crew member on a B-17, where, of course, the average crew weight is a whole lot less than 200 pounds. Definitely, typically, especially of course if you're in the ball turret and such, shorter than 6 feet tall. And so his size is also going to be important later on in our story. So they're flying with their crew on the Ruthie 2. After the first Ruthie is scrapped due to battle damage. It's named after the pilot's wife. The Ruthie 2, they're going to take off on a mission to Hanover on July 26th of 1943. They're going to take off up into formation. They're going to go, and as they're near the Dutch coast, they are going to be attacked by a swarm of German FW-190s, and they're going to be swarmed. Everybody in the plane is, of course, going to be manning their battle stations, shooting, and the intercom on the Ruthie 2 is shot out, so nobody can communicate throughout the plane. The tail, waist, and ball turret gunners are all of a sudden not firing anymore. A cannon shell actually is going to go, and bullets are going to, of course, be coming in the cockpit. And a cannon shell, the co-pilot's windshield is just going to be shattered as a cannon shell enters. It is not going to hit, though, Captain Morgan. I'm sorry, not Captain Morgan. I'm sorry. Flying Officer Morgan, who, by the way, his nickname is Red, and I bet you can guess why. He has red hair. Red, as I will refer to him as from now on as the men did, is flying. It doesn't hit Red, though. It actually hits the bullets, and the cannon hit Robert Campbell, Lieutenant Campbell, and Tyer Weaver, Tech Sergeant Tyer Weaver, who is the flight engineer, turret gunner back here behind me. And with that, unfortunately, when Lieutenant I'm sorry, when Lieutenant Campbell is hit, his head, he's hit right in the head. It is going to split his head open, and he is going to slump forward. It does not kill Campbell, though. He is going to slump forward, and instinctively he's going to try to continue flying the plane. So he's going to slump forward, he's going to grab on to the controls, and he's going to be pulling on them, and the plane leaves the formation. They're diving, it's flying erratically, and Red is going to be pulling on, doing everything he can to pull the plane, control it. He's trying, of course, with his left hand to push Campbell back into position as he's trying to fly the plane with his right hand. He's pulling, flying, and he's going to be wrestling. He is actually going to be able to do this. This is where, of course, his size is going to benefit him, because he's going to be able to hold on to that inner strength that he finds within himself to hold the plane into the air in formation for the next several hours, while also holding and taking care of Campbell, holding him back while he's flying the plane. Nobody in the plane, of course, knows, the rest of the plane knows this is going on. Tyre Weaver, who I have spoken about in a previous talk when we were talking about the crew positions in the cockpit, he has been injured severely. His arm is almost severed. He has fallen through the hatch between the pilot and co-pilot. He's down below. The navigator, Koski, and the bombardier, Irwin, are taking care of him. They actually are going to drop him out because they realize that he is not going to survive the mission if he doesn't get immediate medical care, because his injury is so severe. So they're going to attach his parachute and open up the nose hatch and have him drop down to safely, where Tyre Weaver will survive. And the interphone is shot out so nobody else can hear. They At this point, Morgan believes that they have either bailed out or they have been killed. And so he's controlling, doing everything he can to save everybody else who's still on board, continue on to the target. They will actually drop the bombs on their way back in formation while he's still keeping this plane in formation, which is hard enough as it is without dealing with the stress. A injured pilot who keeps trying to fly the plane, all one-handed. He's still flying the plane. The navigator, Koski, will actually pop up after bombs away when they're leaving basically the coast to go back towards England, will pop up and is absolutely astonished to see what is happening. He is actually going to help get Campbell down. They're going to have him take him, well, Morgan is, of course, flying the plane by himself now, with both hands, of course. And the bombardier and the navigator are going to get Robert Campbell down below. They're going to lay him out. Koski's going to come up here to help with what he can do as the navigator up here to help out. The bombardier is going to stay down with Campbell to make sure that in his dazed and kind of crazed instinctual actions doesn't fall out of the open nose hatch, because of course it's open from when they dropped, when Tyre Weaver was parachuting out of the nose hatch. As they get closer to England and the coastline, of course they're going to be lowering in altitude, and during that time then all of a sudden the other crew members start coming up. Well, it turns out they hadn't bailed out. They haven't been killed or injured. Oxygen system had been shot out, and so they had been unconscious this entire time. So they all realize everything that's happening and going on. Morgan is going to then take the plane, and they are going to land at the closest base that they can get to, which is an RAF base near the English coast called Falsham. Morgan actually has to move over to the pilot seat to be able to see clearly out of the windshield to land the plane, which he will do successfully. Unfortunately, minutes after landing, the pilot Lieutenant Campbell will succumb to his injuries and he will actually pass away. For all of this just amazing feat of being able to fly this plane in formation, the reason he doesn't turn the plane around immediately upon all of this occurring as they're crossing the Dutch coast is he realized they would basically be sitting ducks if they turned around. All these FW-190s would have just swarmed and attacked and shot this plane down. So he realizes he can keep up with the formation all by himself, flying this plane one-handed. Their safety, of course, more safety in numbers. They can actually complete the bombing mission and make it back. And for this, he is awarded the Medal of Honor. In December of 1943, Lieutenant General Ira Eaker, who is the commander of the 8th Air Force, is going to present now First Lieutenant John C. Morgan with the Medal of Honor. And of course, he's going to direct him not to fly any more combat. But of course, Morgan decides that if the war is not over for the Allies, he's going to keep flying missions whenever possible, and he will. He will actually be flying a mission with the 482nd Bomb Group, which are a Pathfinder bomb group, and they fly the H-2X radar planes. And on March 6th of 1944, he's going to have another eventful mission. This is going to be the first major raid on Berlin. The first actual mission to Berlin is by the 482nd on March 4th, and we actually had a talk, which what seems like a very, very long time ago, but it was just in March. But, you know, time recently has been feeling a little longer than normal. Back on March 4th of 2020, we actually had a talk presented by John O'Neill, the son of Sergeant John O'Neill, who flew on that first mission to Berlin. This is going to be the first major, huge mission to Berlin. Major Fred Rabo, I'm not quite sure how to say it, he is flying as pilot. First Lieutenant John Morgan, Red, is going to be flying co-pilot again. They're actually going to have a crew of 12 that day. They're flying with Mickey radar, which, by the way, that term was coined by Fred over here. They're going to be flying on their mission leading. They're going to have 2 navigators. They're going to have the Mickey navigator and a regular navigator. They're also going to have the 3rd Air Division commander, Brigadier General Russell Wilson, flying on board, and he's going to make up the 12-man crew. They're going to be flying on a mission to Berlin, and the plane is hit by flak and actually will explode. Only 4 of the 12 men will survive. Fred Morgan, John Morgan, and the 2 waist gunners are going to survive. And I'm going to actually read you Morgan's quote right now, because he, of course, sums up best what happened to him during this mission. So the plane is going to explode. And this is a quote that is in Roger Freeman's book, The Mighty Eighth. Subsequently recalling his miraculous escape, he said, "I was just conscious of something terrific happening, and I had a faint idea of a lot of metal tearing at me, and then I was falling. I don't think I ever lost consciousness. I had my chute under my arm when we blew. I kept trying to get it on." So his chute was not clipped on. It was under his arm when it blew, and he did not let it go. It's under his arm. He said, "I kept trying to get it on. When I was falling feet first, the pressure kept pushing it up too high. And when I was falling head first, it kept pushing it past my chest. I guess I was on my back when I finally got it fastened on. I think you think clearer when you're so damned near dead. 3 or 4 seconds after the chute popped open, I landed in the top of a tree. I fell out of it about 30 feet and landed on my feet. I felt like I'd busted every bone in me. What a jolt." So again, another amazing wow experience that he survives. He is going to be taken prisoner of war by some soldiers nearby at a flak battery. He's going to be taken prisoner of war, and he will be held for the rest of the war in Stalag Luft 1 at Barth until he is liberated. And there, tomorrow, if you look on our social media, we'll have a photo of him that was taken while he was in the POW camp at Stalag Luft 1 in Barth. So a truly amazing story of, here of John Morgan. So here we have this man who was classified as 4F. He's now, this pilot has gone through these amazing experiences. He flies for basically for 3 different countries. You know, he trains with the RCAF. He's flying over in England with the RAF. He's then flying with the 8th Air Force. He, you know, flies 26 combat missions is what he's given credit for. Of course, he says he only flew 25 and a half. He earns the country's highest decoration for valor, the Medal of Honor. He spends 14 months as a prisoner of war in Stalag Luft 1. And so really it just shows how, you know, tough and tenacious Lieutenant Morgan was. He is going to pass away in January of 1991, and just it shows what true, you know, courage, bravery, and that he had, that he was willing to keep flying that plane to make sure that, you know, his pilot and everybody got back safely, even if he wasn't sure, you know, thinking maybe the rest of the crew in the back bailed out. Just what a truly honorable man he was, and we would of course like to honor him and thank you for his service, for all of the actions that took place during his career and life. So I would like to thank you for joining me here today in the cockpit of our plane. Next week we will be talking about Ploesti, Operation Tidal Wave, which took place on August 1st of 1943, and we hope you'll join us next Thursday at 2 p.m. And I want to say thank you very much for joining me here in the cockpit today, and thank you.